Imagine spending $150,000 in like 4 years of your life to become a junior software developer.
Right. Or a paralegal.
Yeah, exactly. You graduate, you're super eager to climb the corporate ladder, only to find out your first job out of college is sitting in your bedroom, getting paid a few dollars an hour to just label data.
Oh, man.
You are literally getting paid to train the exact algorithm that just absorbed your actual career.
That's brutal.
It sounds like the plot of a bleak dystopian movie, but according to a newly released white paper, that is the reality for millions of young professionals right now.
It really is a stunning reversal of expectations.
Yeah.
For decades, the societal promise was that physical labor would be automated first.
Right, the robots take the factory jobs.
Exactly. The narrative told us that machines would take over the grueling factory work, the manual chores, and that would leave humanity free to do the high-level, creative, complex thinking.
But the script has completely flipped on us.
Totally flipped. The people working with their hands are in higher demand than ever,
Hmm.
while the thinkers, the writers, the coders, they're the ones suddenly scrambling.
Because the human mind, which we kind of just assumed was this ultimate irreplaceable asset, is being commodified. And at an astonishing rate.
Yeah, completely defying all our historical models of technological progress.
And that reality is exactly what we are focusing on today. So, welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
If you are listening to this right now, whether you are a junior coder, a marketing manager, or, someone leading a team of knowledge workers, this conversation directly impacts you.
100%.
Our source material today is a just-released press release and a pretty comprehensive white paper summary. It's dated March 2026 from EON AI Ventures.
Yeah, they just announced a massive new initiative.
Right, called the EON Human Transition Framework.
Yeah.
And our mission for this deep dive is to basically extract the absolute core mechanics of this accelerating AI labor crisis.
And we're going to impartially examine the blueprint. EON is proposing to help us survive what they're calling a critical 5 to 10 year disruption window.
Exactly. And just to respect your time, we are stripping away the corporate fluff today.
No endless statistics.
No, we need to understand precisely why this specific disruption is happening, how EON's proposed infrastructure actually works, and whether shifting millions of people from an employee mindset to an owner mindset is actually feasible.
Pretty tall order.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to truly understand EON's proposed solution, we really have to look closely at the exact nature of the problem they're describing.
Right, you have to define the disease before the cure.
Exactly. And the white paper uses a very specific term for what's happening to the economy right now. They call it a K-shaped economy.
Yeah, so think of the economy like an escalator that just violently snapped in half.
Okay, that's quite a visual.
Right. So the top arm of that letter K, the side that is still going up, that represents primary physical occupations.
Like plumbers and electricians.
Plumbers, electricians, specialized construction workers. They remain largely untouched by generative AI because, well, the physical world is incredibly messy.
Yeah, it's unpredictable for a machine to navigate.
Exactly. But then you have the bottom arm of the K.
The side of the escalator that's plummeting backward.
Right. And that represents white-collar professionals. We aren't just talking about a few niche, easily automated roles here. The text specifically calls out programmers, paralegals, content marketers, and junior lawyers.
Historically secure, knowledge-intensive professions.
Yes, facing sudden, unprecedented displacement. And the underlying data from Anthropic's economic index is what really anchors this claim.
The percentage is staggering.
It really is.
Yeah.
It reveals that generative AI systems are currently performing 57% to 75% of the core tasks across these white-collar professions.
Wait, let's just pause on that number for a second. 57 to 75%. That isn't just a productivity tool that helps you do your job faster.
No, it's not.
That is the vast majority of a person's daily job description simply vanishing into an algorithm. If you're a junior marketing executive, your day used to consist of what? Researching market trends, drafting ad copy, A/B testing emails.
And now the AI does all three of those things in 4 seconds.
Right. Your role is hollowed out. And the demographic taking the absolute hardest hit here is fascinating.
A younger generation.
Yeah, the text notes that early career professionals, so people aged 22 to 25, are experiencing a 6 to 16% reduction in employment in these AI-exposed sectors.
Which, if you look at the mechanics of a corporate hierarchy, makes perfect sense. Generative AI fundamentally destroys the entry-level stepping stones.
Oh, because there's no more busy work to hand down.
Exactly. Historically, a senior lawyer didn't draft the initial tedious legal briefs. They handed that to the 23-year-old junior associate.
And that busy work is how the associate actually learned the ropes.
Right? They gained context and eventually became a senior lawyer themselves. But if an AI can instantly do the bulk of the initial research, the drafting, the foundational coding,
Yeah.
you just don't need the junior associate.
So you have an entire generation of bright, highly educated minds stepping out of university and into a total professional void.
Yes.
But the text points out something even darker than just an unemployment statistic. It talks about those displaced workers getting trapped in a cycle.
Because they still have to pay rent.
Right, so they are being pushed into exploitative systems perpetuated by low-wage gig models. Which brings me back to the dystopian scenario we started with.
The data labeling.
Yeah. You have these displaced professionals stripped of their career paths, recruited into temporary gig economy roles to essentially label data, filter content, or do these digital microtasks.
They are manually fine-tuning the very systems that replace them.
It is quite literally getting paid minimum wage to dig your own professional grave.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the true crisis EON is identifying in this white paper isn't merely about losing specific tasks to a computer.
What is it then?
It is about a systemic, catastrophic loss of economic agency. When workers are pushed into these decentralized gig models, they become highly vulnerable.
Right, because there's no safety net.
Exactly. They're often monitored by invasive surveillance software that tracks their keystrokes or, like, eye movements to ensure productivity.
Wow.
They get no health benefits, no institutional protections.
And zero upward mobility.
Exactly zero. They have no pathways to ownership. Once their specific human expertise is fully absorbed by the machine and rendered redundant, that gig contract is simply terminated.
So it creates professional dead ends on a macroeconomic scale.
Yes.
So if the traditional corporate ladder is disappearing into an algorithm, how do millions of young professionals avoid getting trapped in this low-wage gig cycle?
That is the exact chasm Dan Lajerskar, the chairman of EON AI Ventures, is addressing in this release.
And he issues a pretty dire warning, doesn't he?
He does. He states that without intervention, this growing chasm could erode millions of livelihoods and destabilize entire economies.
So EON is proposing a massive structural bridge to get people over this gap.
Right. They are proposing a completely alternative route through what they call their immersive learning infrastructure and integrated ecosystem.
Oh, okay. So if the gig economy is the trap, EON believes heavily scaled, specialized reskilling is the escape hatch.
Precisely.
But we really need to talk about the cost of this escape hatch, because this is where the proposal sounds almost too ambitious.
The financials.
Yeah, the text lays out the numbers clearly. A traditional university degree, the old way of trying to secure a white-collar future, costs anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000.
A massive burden.
Huge. EON's immersive education model, on the other hand, is offered at $0 for the learner.
Removing the financial barrier entirely is a massive paradigm shift.
For sure.
The logic is that you cannot ask a displaced worker who is already struggling financially in the gig economy to take on another $60,000 of debt to learn a new skill.
Right. The economic compulsion has to be removed.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, and honestly where I have to push back hard on EON's premise.
Okay, Leanne.
Offering a massive, immersive XR training program at zero cost sounds incredible, but we just established earlier that generative AI is eating complex tasks at an unbelievable speed.
Right. It's updating week by week.
Exactly. So by the time I spend 6 months finishing this free immersive course, hasn't the AI already learned how to do whatever new skill I just learned?
Yeah.
Like, how does a curriculum avoid becoming totally obsolete the second it's released?
It is the most critical vulnerability in any reskilling plan today. And the white paper actually dedicates significant focus to it.
Okay. How do they solve it?
EON addresses this by making a very vital distinction between generic AI capabilities and high-stakes operations.
Generic versus high stakes.
Yeah. The text points out that generic learning platforms or consumer AI tools typically deliver about 80% quality. They can draft a decent marketing email or write a solid block of code.
They're fast and impressive, but they aren't flawless.
Right.
They still hallucinate facts occasionally or totally miss nuanced context.
Exactly. Now, in a low-stakes environment like writing a blog post, an 80% success rate is perfectly fine. You just edit the remaining 20%.
Sure, no one gets hurt if a blog post has a typo.
Right.
Yeah.
However, in high-stakes operations, Think managing a smart power grid, overseeing advanced robotic surgery equipment, or handling volatile chemical manufacturing logistics. 80% isn't enough.
Yeah, obviously.
High-stakes environments require 100% operational precision. A hallucination in those fields means catastrophic physical failure, massive liability, or loss of life.
Okay, I see the logic there. You can't let an AI that is, mostly right oversee a physical multi-million-dollar robotics assembly line. The margin of error is the key differentiator.
That 20% gap is where human agency survives.
Ah, okay.
EON's ecosystem is built specifically to train people for those high-stakes environments. They aren't training you to compete with a generic AI that writes code.
They are utilizing continuous AI integration to train you to manage, oversee, and physically execute the deployment of that technology in the real world.
You've got it. They are training humans to operate in that critical 20% gap, where absolute precision, physical presence, and complex unscripted decision-making are legally and operationally required.
So it is a deliberate shift toward hybrid digital-physical skills.
Exactly.
You take the analytical brain of a former white-collar worker, and you use Immersive XR to train them to apply that analytical thinking to a complex physical environment that AI just cannot safely navigate alone.
It beautifully connects the plummeting bottom arm of that K-shaped economy to the rising top arm.
That is really clever. But wait, there's no such thing as a free lunch. How is EON realistically paying for global infrastructure, curriculum development, and technology deployment without charging the students?
Oh, the funding model. Right.
Yeah, what is the catch here? Are they just selling user data?
No, the white paper addresses this by explaining their partnership model. EON isn't functioning as a charity, nor are they relying on a consumer subscription model.
Okay.
They are actively collaborating with institutions, universities, and governments at a macroeconomic level.
Why would a government pay for this?
Because governments are facing the prospect of massive tax revenue loss and social instability if their white-collar middle class collapses into gig work.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be a disaster for tax bases.
Exactly. So institutions and regional governments are the ones partnering with EON to deploy this infrastructure as a regional economic stabilization measure.
Okay, so it's treated as a vital public infrastructure funded at the institutional level, which makes it free for the end user. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it aligns everyone's incentives.
But how are they actually delivering this training? Reskilling millions of people isn't something you can accomplish by building physical brick-and-mortar schools everywhere.
They're leveraging a highly scalable delivery system centered on spatial computing.
Like VR headsets.
Basically, the text outlines their use of hybrid physical-digital environments delivered through a virtual campus model. And it's important to note EON's pedigree here.
They aren't just some new startup.
Right. EON AI Ventures and EON Reality didn't just pivot to AI 6 months ago. The text emphasizes they have 25 years of experience in immersive learning and extended reality, or XR.
Wow, 25 years.
Yeah, they already have active deployment spanning over 80 countries.
So instead of sitting in a lecture hall listening to a professor talk about a new industry, a displaced paralegal might put on an XR headset and suddenly be standing inside a simulated, highly complex logistics hub.
Or a simulated advanced manufacturing plant, exactly.
They are learning by physically interacting with a digital twin of a real-world environment.
They're building spatial awareness and muscle memory, not just memorizing multiple-choice answers.
But getting free, highly specialized training is still only half the battle. Let's say I complete the virtual campus training. I now have these great hybrid digital physical skills. Who is hiring me?
Well,
If the traditional corporate pyramids are flattening out because AI destroyed the entry-level roles, where do people go once they have these skills?
what's fascinating here is
Yeah.
EON does not view their framework as just a way to delay redundancy. They aren't trying to squeeze displaced workers back into a shrinking corporate pyramid so they can be employees again.
What are they trying to do?
The text outlines a fundamental philosophical shift from dependency to what they call entrepreneurial sovereignty.
Hold on. Entrepreneurial sovereignty is a very fancy corporate-sounding phrase. What does that actually mean in plain English? Just being your own boss?
Essentially, yes, but at a technologically advanced scale. The goal is to combine these massive reskilling pathways directly with entrepreneurial ownership opportunities.
Okay, walk me through that.
Rather than training you to be a replaceable cog who waits for a giant employer to hand you a salary, the framework provides the digital tools, the AI integration, and the hybrid skills for individuals to build and run their own self-sustained ventures.
So instead of hoping a massive logistics company hires me as a junior manager, I use AI to handle the back office administration, and I use my specialized hybrid skills to run my own boutique logistics consulting firm.
Exactly. Or your own localized advanced manufacturing oversight business. You own the output.
You own the output, and therefore you own your economic stability.
Dan Lejerskar's vision, as quoted in the release, emphasizes that we cannot rely on fragmented, temporary solutions.
Right.
His stated goal is not just to reskill people to be better employees, but to empower individuals and communities to, quote, own this moment.
Wow.
He describes this framework as a deliberate bridge toward human empowerment in what he calls the abundance era.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize everything we've just pulled from this EON white paper, economic agency in the age of AI means fundamentally changing your psychological relationship with work.
It really does.
It means abandoning the expectation that a specialized degree entitles you to a safe desk job within a massive corporate hierarchy.
Right. That era is over.
It means recognizing that the tasks you currently do at a screen might be automated, but your ability to blend digital AI tools with real-world physical execution, that is your actual leverage.
Exactly.
It means taking those hybrid skills and utilizing an owner mindset to run a self-sustained venture, rather than relying on a giant entity to validate your economic worth.
It is a monumental psychological hurdle, though. Shifting millions of people from the perceived safety of an employee mindset to the inherent risk of an entrepreneurial mindset is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, that's not going to be easy for a lot of people.
It's not just a technological challenge, it is a cultural rewiring. But the white paper argues it is the only viable path forward.
And bringing this all back to you, the listener, whether you are currently studying for a degree, whether you are mid-career trying to navigate these sudden industry changes, or whether you're leading a team that is actively integrating generative AI.
This transition isn't a hypothetical event in the distant future.
No. This 5 to 10 year disruption window that EON has identified is happening right now, today. The skills that got you to where you are will not guarantee your security tomorrow.
The data definitely shows us that simply hoping your job is too complex to automate is a losing bet.
But understanding the mechanics of this K-shaped economy and recognizing the necessary shift toward hybrid digital-physical work can give you the agency to navigate it. You don't have to be a passive victim just waiting to be pushed into the gig economy.
This raises an important question, one that builds directly on EON's proposed vision for our future labor market.
Okay, what is it?
If this blueprint succeeds, if we manage to successfully transition a massive wave of displaced white-collar workers into these new entrepreneurial, highly precise digital physical roles, what becomes the new premium in that economy?
Well, that's interesting.
Right. In a world where integrated AI reliably handles the cognitive heavy lifting and hybrid human workers execute the physical oversight flawlessly, will raw, unscripted human intuition, our messy emotional empathy and genuine human-to-human interaction become the ultimate luxury commodity.
That is a profound thought to sit with. Because if the machines have finally taken over the heavy lifting of the mind, maybe the true utopia we were promised isn't about sitting around in total leisure.
Maybe not.
Maybe it's about finally having the bandwidth to be unapologetically human again.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the EON Human Transition framework. Keep questioning the tools you use, keep learning about the shifting landscape around you, and as always, we highly encourage you to keep exploring the edges of the AI frontier.